The next segment of the show, we're going to talk with Natalia Kuna, an Australian psychic medium. I like what Natalia can bring to the table, especially around how to create positive and effective environments and atmospheres. Because as we talk through the shadow people and the negative that it has, what can we do now to keep it away, to rid ourselves of it? And so, of course, Natalia is going to go over some of the personal experiences that she's had, but also Natalia is focusing on talking about the light perspective of this environment creation and how to keep the shadow person away from you and the tools you can use to prevent their interactions. Let's listen to what Natalia had to say.
Yeah, sure. Actually, as you're saying that, I literally have chills all over my body, but not the bad ones, the good ones, because I work as a psychic medium and energy healer, so I feel and sense energy strongly. And for the most part, I have positive experiences with the spirit world. However, having said that, it is important for us all to know that, there's both ends of the coin. So I have experienced some of the darker stuff too, not as much, but enough to get a taste of it. And I think that's because it's important to not only be aware but also understand how energy works and how the paranormal world works, because it really has such a big impact on us in every way. So, any kind of negative energy, which could be just anger from a person right through to spirits and other entities. In the case of shadow people, I first experienced one in my dream state. So that's one of the ways that people can actually experience them through your dreams, or more like a nightmare. And because it's easier for them to access us when we're asleep. And in my case, it wasn't anything too ominous, but other people have reported more scarier situations or nightmares. But with my one, I was with a friend and we were inside our house, my house, and we have an outdoor pergola area which leads to our garage, and with a sliding door. And through the sliding door, I saw this big shadow person. And at that point in my life, I hadn't really heard of them. I didn't know much about it. This was around about 2009, 10, somewhere around then. And I was just beginning to develop spiritually as well, to the point I was just opening up as doing this work. And I think that's significant in my experience. And I think everybody sort of has a different background and a reason why they might be drawing this kind of experience to them, which I can go through with you later. But in this case, it was just this really, really super tall, like around 7 feet tall, which seems to be the common kind of description of the classic shadow figure. It was quite large and it was like a dark, opaque form, and it just gave this sense of that you just left paralyzed in fear. So literally in my dream, my friend and I were like huddling together, frozen in fear. And it's like a suspended moment of time, which is also a common kind of experience that people have. They feel like it's just this one moment of time that's expanded, and you feel like there's nothing you can do and you're sort of frozen in this moment. So that's what it was like. And it gave me the impression that it wanted to enter the house. It gave this impression of that just felt so real. Like I knew it wasn't just a dream. So, we can have all different kinds of dreams. Some are just processing regular dreams, and then some are what I would call more of a spiritual dream, where things are amplified, they're more vivid, and you have that intuitive feeling that it was more than just a dream, that this was a real kind of experience or visitation, if you like. And we can have positive ones, such as grandma coming to visit in our dreams, or a negative one, such as this. So as I said, I was developing spiritually around that time. So I think that's why that experience happened to me, which is interesting because there's this concept of as we open up our light and as we become more aware, for those of us who are on that path, we can draw the negative to us like moths to a light globe, right, that's shining. And I believe that that's what was happening to me at that time. But I think there's other things too. Obviously, there's other reasons why people draw them to them, but that was the case for me. But what was interesting in my case was that I hadn't known that my husband had actually been having experiences with what I believe to be the same shadow person, but he hadn't told me because he thought I'd be scared. Now he knows to definitely tell me, right? And I know how to deal with them now as well, so which makes it a lot easier. But he just felt like he did see a shadow figure once, and he kept getting this sensation over quite a longer period of time than me. Mine was just a once-off. Actually, there was another time which I'll go into. And like just a feeling of a dark presence, that kind of thing, in the garage area, which is interesting because he didn't know about my dream. I didn't know what he was going through. But as I said before, my garage and Vigola connect. It's the same area. So one day I was, he told me about it. And one day after that, I was just sitting on the couch outside in that area, and I just felt dark vortex of energy. It just felt like a suction of energy creep right up behind my back towards me and reach up just to almost touch my back, and then immediately go away again. So as I turned around, obviously there was nothing there, but I felt the sensation it was the same thing trying to be intimidating or to get my attention and so on. Once I cleared the house, as I know to do now, so in that case I used sage, I think it went away and never really had the experience again, and my husband didn't either. But that's because by that stage too, I'd started working with the angels, working with, higher spiritual energy, learning different techniques, which really helped. So at another time, a different kind of, form perhaps of a shadow person, or it could be something else such as a dark spirit or, a more negative kind of person who's crossed over, I was preparing for a client, and I normally protect in the morning. So they were coming to my home for a reading, and I hadn't had a chance to protect yet. I wasn't organized. I was really busy. And so when I was in the bathroom, I sort of saw with my eyes, both my external eye as well as my what we call the third eye, a spiritual energetic eye. Right. I saw this like a shadow figure, but it was just for a split second, and it was actually behind me, even though I felt like I saw it in front of me. It was like, again, in a sort of suspended moment of time. So I believe that's a variation of the shadow people, but it's all up in the air, because myself or anybody else, nobody knows exactly what these things are, or how many different things could be classified as a shadow figure, but there are semblances of different experiences. So all we can do is put it together, and there's lots of theories out there which I can go through as well. But actually my intention for today is being someone who is more of like a light worker, or someone that's working with the light. I would really love to bring some more sort of high energy to the topic, because in the paranormal world, it's easy just to get really attracted to these kinds of topics, and it's so interesting and scary, but it's not empowering us. So that if someone's dealing with this situation, I'd love to be able to help them feel more empowered, to demystify the whole thing, and to teach people that really we can easily conquer these things. We don't have to be a victim to these kinds of experiences, that there are things we can do, and it's all about stepping into our power, developing our sort of inner core, our spiritual strength. Having faith really helps, whatever that is, and everybody's different, whether it's a religion for one person or believing in, the angels for another, whatever it is for you, it really doesn't matter. Just having a faith in God, or whatever you want to call it, some kind of spiritual faith, really helps. And to not be in the fear mode, because fear is the negative energy that attracts these things, whether it's a shadow person or another negative type of entity, any kind of negative thing. The more that we're in fear, the more that we worry, that we're concerned or even obsessed about it, then the more it's going to draw to us, the more it's going to suck our energy. I really believe some of them are a form of energy vampirism, really.
Would you say
that all types of shadow people have the same purpose or same message? And how many of them do you think are there?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think on one hand, there's some similarities between different shadow type forms. So there's the classic shadow figure, which is kind of like what I described. Sometimes people see fingers, but not always, but it's this general mass of a figure, which is often larger. They can be known to shapeshift as well and change form really quickly into creatures or just any kind of sort of anomalous form. It might appear more like a creature or like getting into now that realm of dark energy, such as, demons and that kind of thing. I really don't like talking about them too much, but they're out there. And then there's the notion of the jinn, which are connected to that as well, and other dark entities. And the question is, are these all the same thing, just people experience them in different ways, or are they separate entities? And that's all up for discussion. I'm definitely not going to say it is definitely this or definitely that. I think that would be really wrong to do. But I can definitely report that they exist. I get heaps of emails and messages about this, a lot of similar stories. There's also, a theory that they're just, some of them are just, as I said in my second experience, like a ghost or maybe a more evil spirit. There's also what's known as Hat Man, which is another variation. And with that one, he appears again like a dark figure, but often wearing a trench coat or what appears to be a coat or a hat. It could be any kind of hat, like a top hat or a fedora, but just sort of an outline of a hat. You can see like a silhouette of the body in the cloak. And there's also different theories as to why that might be. Maybe it's some kind of a disguise, possibly because, who knows what this form is, like, say it was alien or it's just something sort of different from our world. There's definitely that sense of that they're interdimensional, and they can move in and out of dimensions. What is it that they're hiding under the coat? We don't know. They could be observing us, watching us, collecting data, that kind of thing. And why is it appearing that way? Maybe they want to look a bit more memorable. Maybe they're trying to show authority, or like maybe there's a sense of that government agency feeling, like the Men in Black. So that's also possibly connected, possibly not, to like especially Hat Man. But yeah, again, I've had emails about that too. There are a lot of people out there who have experienced this. Or a shadow person with green eyes or red eyes, where everything else is black apart from the eyes. But you don't need to see that. It can just be a black form. Some theories out there are also that they are astral travelers, meaning that when we're in the astral, while we're sleeping, sometimes the essence of people are astral projecting, and unconsciously they're floating around in the astral body. So perhaps someone that sees a shadow, it could be a person astral traveling. Or another interesting one is there could be a time traveler visiting from a future dimension. So the reason why I'm mentioning all these different ones is there's just so many that I really wouldn't have any idea how many there are altogether to answer your question. But I definitely want to convey the idea that there are different types, that there are, and who knows how many. Some people will only see one or two in their lifetime, and some people seem to be a magnet where they actually feel stalked by these things and they're having like consecutive and repetitive experiences of them. Some people even have seen them. I mean, they could come in your home or out of your home. They might be some people in a nature setting, and then from there the question is, are they malicious? Are they benevolent? It's really also up in the air. For the most part, I would say most people feel it's more negative. They're frozen. They feel like they can't move their limbs. They can't think. They can barely call out for help. And they feel like they're being watched or analysed, And then there are some people who say, no, they're just benevolent. They're just watching and observing us. And then also there's a theory I've been thinking about, which is, are some of them, I wouldn't say all of them, definitely not, but maybe there are some that are like guardians or that are messengers, like it's any kind of omen or a warning system perhaps for you to, because I've got goosebumps all over me now if you were to see me, but about this, I really feel that I'm hitting onto something here. And this is not to dismiss all the other cases that they are definitely for sure a thing. But in this case, this would be that our shadow selves is trying to give us a message. But I would suggest if anyone goes through an experience of seeing a shadow person or any kind of dark negative energy or entity, think about what can you learn from this? Why? So don't become a victim, like why me and oh my God, I'm attracting this and that, because it's just going to keep happening. Instead, really take charge of yourself and think, okay, why is this happening? Give yourself time. The answers are not necessarily going to come instantly, but you can ask your angels and guides to help you, ask for signs. And think about the shadow side, which literally just means because the universe operates according to different universal laws, and we know about the law of attraction, for example. There's also the law of polarity, which is meaning there's a flip side to anything, light and dark, sun and moon, and they oppose each other. So it's the same with ourselves and our emotions and our mental state and our experiences. And there's that ego side, which some people call the shadow. So the universe often is our mirror through people, through experiences. So we really need to think about what is being reflected back to us. What is the universe trying to show us? What are our guides trying to teach us? Perhaps your higher self or your soul. Because, people talk about animal spirits and spirit guides and that kind of thing. And for the most part, that's a positive thing. But sometimes, for example, you might see a dark crow in your backyard or something strange happens. Or perhaps in your dream state, a dark wolf or something like that. They're all messages and signs. So think about, recognizing what's hidden, what are the darker aspects within ourselves that are needing to be sort of come out from our depths and be shown. So answers to questions we have, or maybe something we've buried deep inside and we're not ready to look at. And I think that is a higher way of working with this kind of phenomenon, as well as amping up our light and learning more spiritual tools, which will help greatly, because since I learned that, I never had an experience again with these things. It's not to say I won't again, I might, but I'll know how to deal with it for sure.
If someone moved into a new location, a new home, or maybe they purchased an artifact or an antique, could you see a shadow person being attached to either of those type of things?
Yes, I'm getting an energetic yes, but I'll just yes anyway. For sure, objects can hold energy, positive and negative. So positive, grandma's little piece of jewellery, and you'll be able to connect and feel grandma through holding it. It's the same with negative energy. So perhaps you've bought an item from an antique store, or you've somehow come across some kind of item, or even, in bad cases, you might have a visitor in your home that has dark intentions. This does happen in some cases. It might not be common, but depends on the crowd who's listening, right? But there might be someone that comes in who's into magic and that kind of thing, and they touch your object, or they put, they might give you a gift, but it's got some negative intentions behind it. Definitely that can happen as well. Or, for whatever reason you come in contact with this object and have it in your home, it can definitely act as a kind of portal, or as a kind of, form which can further manifest negative energy or entity, for sure. Yeah.
I've heard from people that they've seen them outside, they haven't let them in. Have you seen where the shadow people have just decided to break that barrier to get into their residence without being invited? So, I've talked to a lot of people about their experiences, and so quite a few said, I try not to let them through my barrier, but is there a way to truly stop them?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think that for a lot of people, there is a barrier. They will have experienced that in different ways. So maybe there's a barrier in the form that they literally can only come in so much. So if you recall me describing my dream, they were in my vagola. There was that feeling I had that maybe it wants to try to come in, but it couldn't. There was nothing more it could do but just stand there. And I really do believe that's a symbol of that they can only do so much. I think it takes a lot of energy for them to manifest There is a theory out there that they're feeding off our energy as well, which is why one of the reasons people believe maybe that they come to us. I think that the stronger you are spiritually, the more that boundary is pronounced. The weaker you are, even just energetically, so you could apply that in the sense that, as I described before, the person that's going through a lot of problems, they might have a weaker energy field because the more stress that you have and different emotions, your energy does become weaker, and you get tears and rips and holes in your aura, which is all around your body. And then it's easier for any kind of negative energy or entity to come through. So it also could be that your home might be attracting it for some reason. So it just could be general negativity in your home. Or in severe cases, people that are playing with things that they shouldn't be playing with, such as, magic, Ouija boards, that kind of thing. So in some cases, the boundary is definitely very weak, and these shadow beings there's reported incidences, for example, of them pressing on people's chests while they're lying in bed, or sort of approaching them while they're in their bedroom, or seeing them in their room while they're sleeping. And again, they sort of feel paralyzed in return. So it can get to that point that they're literally messing with your energy field and your physical body. But I think that perhaps in those cases that person might have been going through something, or even have had a trauma in their childhood which has opened them up, or having mental or emotional issues. There's really a number of different reasons, and each case really is different. But I think for the most part there's a boundary, definitely, and in some cases they can pierce through.
Is there certain things or materials that they could acquire to help them set that stage or set that environment for themselves?
Yeah, you're talking about people out there yeah, absolutely. I think that for people who are sort of already on the spiritual path or have an interest in those things, they might already know some things that can help, right, such as protective crystals. So there are literal, actual physical objects that can help. So a protective crystal, for example, might be a black tourmaline, but there are plenty of different kinds, and you can research that yourself. Then there's other things you can do, such as keeping your house clean and clear, because the more sort of dusty and cluttered your home is, you're more likely to attract negative energy to you. The more clean and clear your house is, and you've opened up the windows and you let in the light, so you're not living like in a dungeon, the more they're not going to be as attracted to you. And it really is so simple. It can be so simple, but it really does work. I'm sure most people can remember a time when they've given the house a good clean and they've opened everything up and they just feel so much lighter and better. And energy really does work that way. There's also burning sage, which is like a dried sage, because, this method has been used since ancient times. The Native Americans, the Romans used it, because sage is a herb of a high vibration, and it literally will lift away lower energies. So that helps. Also, just keeping a positive mindset, having more fun and joy in your home, putting on positive music, all those kind of things. They lift up the vibration, because at the end of the day, we are talking about energy and vibration. So the higher your personal vibration is and your home environment, the less likely these things are to be able to come in and bother you. And, they'll move on to someone else. Right. But one thing I do want to say too is it's important not to fight the negative with the negative. So I really believe, and I've learned through experience personally and doing this work, that it's not about some people out there. They're going to want to be negative back to them, like doing a magic spell, or I would stay right clear of that, because at the end of the day, it's just going to come back to you threefold. You want to work with the light. You want to be empowered. You want to throw light at them, and use the power of your mind and your will to literally conquer this, because it's all about you at the end of the day. There's a reason why you've drawn this experience to you, and that's what you're to work out as well. So that might help some people out there as well.
Can you detail different types of crystals? I know you mentioned the black crystal, or the black rock. Can you break down a lot of the crystals and just options people have?
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about that, and then I'll talk about the spiritual help that you can get. I think, so with the crystals, I mentioned black tourmaline, also obsidian, which is also a black stone, smoky quartz, which looks like quartz, but it's more of a smoky and sort of grey hues and shades in it. All those crystals are really good at absorbing negative energy and transmuting it into light. They'll take it all away. They'll suck it all up. Also, amethyst would be a good one. I tend to go for the more darker crystals, like black tourmaline is great, but any of the ones I've mentioned. But there's others as well. But I think what's important to know is, again, like I said before, keep it simple, but also it's important with anything to keep clear. So crystals, the energy needs to be clear. So it's one thing, it reminds me of, for example, some people have those little evil eye amulets. And I've actually walked into shops, especially the people from those countries where they're really into you know what I'm talking about, the evil eye?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've actually gone into a shop and seen that I felt the energy first from this thing, but they've had it in their shop and they're pointing it right at the door. And me being a psychic and medium and energy sensitive, I can feel it. It's like a vortex of horrible, thick, negative energy, or it could be a crystal bracelet that someone's worn, or a piece of jewelry to protect themselves. And literally it's collected so much over like years or however long they've had it, and they haven't cleared it. So it's just like this massive accumulation of this energy. And in those cases, maybe it was a good idea in some instances to have it. I would say in other instances, maybe not, because sometimes you're messing with a world you don't understand, and it can attract things. However, they need to be cleared. So one way you can do that is just put your crystal out in the moonlight, especially on a full moon, or just leave it for a few days or bury it under some dirt. You can visualize white light and have it pouring into the crystal, so that keep them regularly cleared. That way they are doing their work and they're transmuting that negative energy, they're collecting it and turning it into the positive, and it's being taken away from your home. Otherwise, you're just going to be this storehouse of negative energy. So, there's some really important things for people to know that maybe they don't quite get or understand. So I think that's really important. With the sage, you can buy this dried sage from any metaphysical type shop, sometimes crystal shops or online, and you just grab, they come like in a bound bundle, but you can even just rip off a little leaf and light it up. Of course, stay fire safe, so sometimes I put it in a little bowl or something like that, and just go around your home and just be in that sacred mode, because this is an important thing for people to know. Is sometimes they're just like, I'm going to try this thing, but who knows if it works. Yeah, it's probably a whole lot of whatever. But if you sort of open yourself up and have that faith and belief, then you are creating the energy yourself also and assisting in the process. If you're going to be negative, skeptical, you're going to hinder it. So pull out that inner strength, believe in, dig up whatever sacred self you've got, amplify it, and then go around your home and do it in a way that's very sacred and meaningful. Open up all your windows and doors and blow the smoke everywhere in a safe way, of course. And call upon your spirit guides, call upon whatever it is you believe in your faith. So for some that might be, so I would definitely recommend Jesus Christ number one, no matter what denomination you are. There's Archangel Michael is one of the most powerful archangels as well. I always work with both of them. Call upon God, or whatever you like to call that in your belief system. Call upon angels, who are beautiful beings of light here to assist us. And I've learned that time in and time out, our angels will help us. We just need to ask. You can ask your guardians, your guides, your ancestors even. Sometimes I give a little disclaimer, ancestors of the light. So that's my little thing I add on. So you might want to do that too, because that could be starting a whole other thing. But anyway, believe in your angels, believe in your guides, believe in a higher power. And that's how you conquer this. It's really that simple.
the crystals, should they wear them? And when I say wear them, should they touch their skin, or should they be wrapped in a metallic or a metal form like gold or silver? Or is it important that it's in contact with them or in their pocket or in their house? How should they be around that crystal?
Yeah, absolutely. It could be all of the above. So when you have a crystal close to your body, touching your skin, such as through a pendant or in your pockets even, that can be a really good thing because it's close to your body, and it's also a physical reminder for you. You've got your little talisman, right? Even if it's some other kind of jewellery, like a cross, or wearing a cross obviously is powerful, having crosses, but any other sort of religious or spiritual icon or reminder of protection for you. So that's definitely a good one. But even just having crystals in your home, I actually recommend putting crystals in the four corners of your home. So a crystal that's great for that is one called selenite, and you can just get a small piece. It doesn't matter. Some people get really scared and they want to buy the most massive piece, thinking a small piece won't do anything. But they really do work, small or large. It really doesn't matter. And again, don't follow superstitions. You don't need to do any kind of hocus pocus or anything. Just keep it simple, keep them clear, and spend some time every now and again around your crystals, and they really do work. So often when I've walked past a crystal store or little display, I can feel the energy, and it really is amazing. But having said that, the other day I walked past a little stall with some crystals, but, it was operated by someone who maybe sort of doesn't know much about them. They're just selling them. And I could feel amazing energy from one of the lighter coloured crystals. But their black tourmaline that I mentioned before, they had it was buzzing with such negative energy, which again was mirroring between the owner of the store and the crystal. And so I could literally feel all her negative thoughts and feelings through that crystal because it hadn't been cleared.
How long would you say it takes to have an effect? If someone gets all the items that you're talking about and starts saging the house and starting that positive feedback and changing the clutter feeling, how have you seen it react in certain timelines? Or
that's a good question. I would say that it really depends on the person and what's going on in their life. For one person, if they're just positively going, you know what, this feels great, I'm going to throw away all this stuff, I'm going to open all my windows, I feel fantastic, they instantly, energy can work, like energy shifts can happen instantly. However, if there's another person and they're going through a whole lot of stress in their life, they're arguing with their husband, their teenage kids are coming home slamming doors, and they have all these financial problems, then it's going to take longer for sure. It's all connected. Energy works in such a plethora of ways, but that can also be a sign that you're affected by negative energy. It's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg. But for example, if you're starting to have problems in your life, it could be a cause from negative energy, or it could be a result of it. But it's all intermingled. So the more depressed and angry you are, and all of that, what we consider the lower emotions and energies, the more likely you are to draw this stuff to you. So it really is treating it holistically, as in looking at all spheres of your life and working to heal, resolve, and clear everything. Your job, your family, relationships, everything around you, and ensuring that you and your home is protected. So there's house protection as well as personal spiritual protection as well. So there's techniques that you can learn to protect your own energy field and those of your children if you have children too.
Can you tell us a little bit about just you and what you do? I know you mentioned it a little bit, but I'd love to give you a little time to talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. No problem. Well, basically, I think as a child and teenager growing up, I think I always was sensitive to energy. I just didn't understand it, like many other people out there. I described myself as a bit of a psychic sponge, and just really feel people's energy. And when I communicated with people, like just talking to someone, whether it's a stranger or someone it's like I experience them on a different level. I'm absorbing all these other things about them, their emotions, their innermost feelings, and deep on a soul level, rather than the outside surface that a lot of people sort of tend to show. And, they set up all their little defense mechanisms, and they're all the things I can feel. I had different spiritual and even paranormal experiences growing up, and even as a young adult. And I had experiences of psychic phenomenon. So, I had the angels save my life one time, where I was walking past a university area at night time, and all of a sudden a voice came out of nowhere came in my head and said, literally told me that a man was going to pull up in a car and try to get me to go in the car with him. And literally within seconds, that's exactly what happened. And I believe that voice is some kind of angel or guide that's there to protect me. Something then happened where I think he saw something and he just disappeared in a frenzy. I've had a voice tell me there'd be earthquakes, things like that. So I started to have all these experiences, and then I studied to be an angel intuitive through Doreen Virtue, who's one of those sort of well-known angel experts out there in clairvoyance and so on, and started to use oracle cards, work with the angels, learn techniques, and then I just grew exponentially from there to the point that I opened up my own business, and this is what I do.
So what do you enjoy most about the business?
Really, it's just about helping people. I think that's number one. I get so much joy and pleasure of having these spiritual experiences and all these amazing things that can happen when the spiritual world meets and connects with our earthly realm. It's just amazing, all the different experiences you can have, which is also why I've sort of wanted to turn over this dark subject on its heels to say it's only one aspect, and it's there because there is light and dark. So, but there's plenty of light experiences that people can have for sure.
I agree 100%. I think it's important that we talk about the dark and we understand it, because there's people that are experiencing it and they feel trapped, I would say. And then to understand that there is a way to get to the light, to get to a more positive approach behind it, is very important.
Oh, yeah, I've got goosebumps again, for sure. And I'd like to remind anyone out there, if you're going through a hard time with this, if you're feeling a victim in any way, or you can come back to this audio at a later time, but just know that light conquers darkness. I mean, I have some of my favorite quotes about this. One is, it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. It really is true. All of the darkness of the world cannot extinguish a single candle. It really is true again. And there is not enough darkness in the world to put out the light of even one small candle. So literally a match can light up a dark room, and that's all it takes. So just to keep that sort of in your mind, and to be empowered and to step up and think, I can fight this for sure, and literally turn things over. It's like flicking a switch.
Well, that's outstanding. I really appreciate that insight you're giving our listeners. And anyone that is listening, you always can visit Natalia at nataliakuna.com, and it's nataliakuna.com. She has great topics, wonderful insight that she puts out there, and of course her business is out there for you if you're ever interested to reach out to her. She sounds very open to talking with anybody, so I really appreciate any of my listeners that go out and reach out to her.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's awesome. And actually, I forgot that I pulled out a few cards just for the session. And the notion that I got through the cards is to remember that, again, there's that dual play between light and dark. And that, there's a bridge between us and our inner core. If you think about inside of you, in your heart and soul, think of a flame inside you. You can even visualize and imagine that growing and expanding, and then you're building upon your light. And then as you do so, you are opening yourself up, you're lifting your vibration, and then you're in touch with the more positive side of the spiritual world, which is there to assist us. I've learnt this time in and time out for sure, and that we are our own creators. So with your mind, you can use the power and of your mind and your will and your intention to create positive energy and to expand your energy and to lift up your vibrations. And then as you do so, it's like the darkness fades out. So just keep having faith and keep believing in yourself, and there's help for you out there.
Hi, I just wanted to add a note to say thank you for watching. Hope that my information was helpful for you to learn how to deal with negative energy. There's so much more that you can learn and understand. You can start off by looking at some of my articles on my website on a huge plethora of spiritual, metaphysical and paranormal topics. If you're interested, I'm also developing a lot of online courses teaching people all about how to deal with being an energy sensitive, how to protect and clear your energy as well as that of your home, all about chakras, also intuitive and psychic development, mediumship, connecting and communicating with angels, doing card readings, and a whole host of other spiritual topics. So all that information is on my website. For my services, I do psychic readings. I also do energy clearings and healings, house clearings, numerology, and personal consultancy, where I can teach, mentor and train you on whatever spiritual development topics that you would like. And it's really helpful to learn in that one-on-one setting. I'm very happy to be quite flexible and combine a number of things in one session, so just contact me via my website. You might also like to join my mail list, where you'll get monthly intuitive guidance in advance, messages from the angels, a taste of the energy to come, all the cosmic stuff, whatever I'm picking up that's in the air, so to speak, and some numerology. And I also include my most current spiritual articles in there as well. So just go to the newsletter section of my website